In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Come, Holy Spirit. We fuse ourselves in your most holy divine will. Jesus, come think in our thoughts. Come gaze through our eyes. Come listen within our listening. Come speak within our speaking. Come beat within our hearts beating. Come breathe within our breathing. As the blood circulates our veins, we want to tell you that we love you and ask you for your kingdom. Jesus, be the one who prays within us for the glory of the Father. And we fuse our entire beings in you, Jesus, where we find all creatures, all the acts of all creatures. Entering deeply inside of you, Lord, we take all of your thoughts and place them within the thought of each creature. So that upon every thought there may be an I love you for the eternal Father, beseeching mercy and imploring the coming of your kingdom. Entering into your eyes, Jesus, we find the eyes of all creatures. We multiply your gazes of love through each and every gaze of all centuries, every time creatures use their eyes. So that the Father will receive the glory of the divine gaze. And so that through every look of creature, the kingdom of the divine will may be implored. Entering into your ears, Jesus, we find the ears of all creatures. And within every moment of your sweet listening, we place our I love you, and we take your listening and we place it within the ears of all creatures. So that the Father will receive the glory of the divine listening. Preparing for all the times we have listened for selfish purposes. And imploring the reign of the kingdom of your divine will. Through the listening of all creatures, imploring that the divine hearing may be restored to mankind. We enter into your most sweet mouth and tongue. There we find the mouths and the tongues of all creatures. We find the voices of all creatures within your voice. And we place your most sweet words within the words of all creatures. We place the sounds that you make with your voice within the sounds that all creatures make, past, present, and future, so that the Father will receive the divine voice, the glory of the divine voice within the voices of all. Turning blasphemies into blessings, so that everywhere that creatures, where there is a creature who has spoken, or sung, or vocalized, or whispered, throughout all centuries, past, present, and future, the Father will receive, like incense rising up to his throne, the divine praises from the mouth of his beloved Son. ceaselessly rising before his throne, crying, Holy, 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 Lord God of hosts. Heaven and earth are full of your glory. So may your kingdom come quickly upon the earth. Return to mankind the divine voice. May the face of the earth be renewed within each and every song that is sung. Even within the evil words of creatures, the beautiful, sorrowful reparation of Jesus can be found, in which he repaired for all of our sins of speech, through everything he suffered in his mouth and voice and tongue throughout the course of his life and in his passion, through everything he suffered in his most holy heart, his most holy soul. And so that even from within the sins of creatures, there is rising up to the Father perfect reparation, beauty, and grace, and divine, infinite, eternal love. I take the acts of Jesus, all of his heartbeats, all his words, works, and steps, everything he did and suffered throughout the entire course of his life, starting from the first moment of his conception, up to his last breath on the cross. And I place all these acts of Jesus around the world, covering the entire globe like a mist. Like a mist that rises from all points like incense. And so that as the evils of creatures rise up to the surface of this mist, the mist may catch all the evil, it may contain it within itself, and transform that evil into blessings and praises, so that the only thing rising up from the earth is the blessings and praises of Jesus. And as this mist captures the evils of creatures within itself, it pours down graces and love back toward the earth, covering all surfaces, so that every active creature is followed by a grace descending to the world, and by a divine love ascending to the Father. For everything passes through the most sacred and suffering heart of Jesus. We enter into this heart, Jesus, that covers the whole entire world. And together with you, we transform everything into divine will, into divine love. Dissolve us and transform us completely in you, Lord. May we be nothing but the repetition of your life. I want to read from volume 25, October 28th, 1928. Put that in the chat real quick. I was continuing my round in the divine volition to follow all of its acts. And my sweet Jesus, making himself felt in my interior, told me, "My daughter, all that has been done by our divinity, as much as in creation, as in redemption and sanctification, has not all been absorbed by the creature, but is all in my divine will, in waiting to give itself to creatures." And this is where he talks about, in other writings, he says that acts are in suspension within himself. Jesus did everything. He made all the reparations for the whole world to balance everything. But he kept it all suspended within himself because he wanted us to actually enter into him and do the work of dispersing what he did. And so it's in waiting. Luisa did a huge chunk of it, but he, in his wisdom, left some of the work up to souls that would come after her in order to continue the work of dispersing all of it, by repeating the acts that he did over and over again, by absorbing them, so that they are more rich throughout the world. I kind of see it as like a slider, if you do Photoshop, where it's like really light when you drag the slider, and it's like you can barely see the picture, but then you slowly make it more and more full and more vibrant until it's all the way there. That's kind of like when we do these acts. When you do the act one time of, for example, Jesus, I fuse into you and I receive everything that you suffered in your heart into myself. And I take this love and I throw it onto all creatures like a shower. Like the way I see it is the very first time you would do that act, it's like the picture would be a little bit faded, right? But then the more you repeat that act over and over and over again, it slowly becomes more and more and more vibrant and rich and full. Yeah, so these acts, Jesus did everything, he covered for everything, but it's all in suspension within him, and he's waiting for us to go in and disperse it again and again and again, a certain amount of times until you could say that picture is all the way complete. My daughter, I'm reading that part again. All that has been done by our divinity, as much as in creation, as in redemption and sanctification, has not all been absorbed by the creature, but is all in my divine will, in waiting to give itself to creatures. If you could see everything in my divine fiat, you would find an army of acts of ours, which came out of us, to be given to creatures. But because our will does not reign, they have neither the space in which to put them, nor the capacity to receive them. But we, with this gift of the divine will, do have the space and the capacity to receive them. Because the gift of the divine will is the very life of Jesus himself. So, if you could see everything in my divine fiat, you would find an army of acts of ours which came out of us, to be given to creatures. But because our will does not reign, they have neither the space in which to put them, nor the capacity to receive them. And this divine militia of acts has been waiting for as long as 20 centuries to place itself in office of exercise, so as to bring to creatures the gifts, the clothings, the joys, and the divine weapons which each of our acts possesses, in order to form together with them one single divine army, a celestial militia. Now, so that the kingdom of our divine will may reign in the midst of creatures, it is necessary that the creature absorb into herself all of these acts of the divinity done for love of them, and absorb them so much into herself as to enclose within herself everything that my fiat possesses, interiorizing them and consummating them within herself. Come, Holy Spirit. What does it mean to interiorize and to consummate the acts within ourselves? I'm going to read that part again. Now, so that the kingdom of our divine will may reign in the midst of creatures, it is necessary that the creature absorb into herself all of these acts of the divinity done for love of them, and absorb them so much into herself as to enclose within herself everything that my fiat possesses, interiorizing them and consummating them within herself. So, my divine will, consummated within the creature, will make this whole divine army re-enter into her. All of our acts which came out of us for love of them, in creation, redemption, and sanctification, will re-enter into creatures. And my divine will, re-entered and consummated within them, will feel triumphant and will reign, dominant together with our divine army. This is why I do nothing but make you sip continuously everything that was done by us and that is done in creation, redemption, and sanctification, so as to be able to say once again, as I did on the cross, I have consummated everything. I have nothing left to do in order to redeem man. So shall my will repeat. I have consummated it in this creature, in a way that all our acts have been enclosed in her. I have nothing left to add. I have consummated everything, so that man might be restored, and the kingdom of my divine will may have its life and its regime on earth as it does in heaven. Yeah, so it says that once all of the acts that God did enter back into the creatures and are consummated within us. And when I read the word consummated, what stands out to me is like the fire like consumes and creates one thing of the two things, the fire and the wood. When the wood is consummated by the fire, it's burned away, and so it's like the fire wins, right? And so, and it's a process, and so we need to. And he tells Luisa too. He has her repeat these acts, repeat these rounds, really. These rounds, these acts of going into what God did, what he issued forth, and like using the faculties of our soul, our intellect, our memory, and our will, we we take these acts and we do them together with him, and we love them, and we come to know them deeper and deeper and deeper. And the more that we come to know these acts by repeating them and by going through them and by allowing him to infuse um, certain aspects of the knowledge of these acts like within our souls, many times by reading just these volumes, because he tells Luisa details about the acts of his life or the details about the acts of creation, um, the more that we interiorize these acts in ourselves by mulling them over with the powers of our soul, right, the more the fire will burn and consume us. Um, and I also thought of on the in a marriage, like the marriage is complete and gives birth to life when it is consummated, and that's says something of like a finality, like there's no going back. And so we have to, just like a love story between a man and a woman, we have to go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper with God until we reach a point of just completion, of completely dissolving ourselves in him in a way that there's no going back. And that is the way that the divine will, that is the way that souls in the divine will actually be able to give life to the gift in others. There's other volumes that talk about that, like how for one who's in the divine will, the nature of the divinity is to give forth more life, and that's what we are called to. We're called to give birth to this gift in other souls. But he says that in order for that to happen, it's just like a little girl. She has everything she needs to become a mother, right? And when you receive this gift of the divine will, you have everything you need to become a mother, but she has to reach a certain maturity of womanhood before she's actually capable of carrying another life within herself. Like she has to develop more flesh, more um, more blood, more space. Everything needs to be more developed within her. She has to have a certain weight, a certain mass. If she's underweight herself, like she's not going to be able to give birth to a healthy pregnancy. And it's the same for us in the divine will. Like if we are scrawny, you could say, if our muscles are scrawny, the muscles of our soul, our intellect, memory, and will, are scrawny, and having not exercised them enough in these acts, and by exercising into these acts, consummating them, it's like kind of just like the body of a girl grows more and more and more and more and more through age and through nourishment, with nourishing her body with food. It's like in the same way, like yes, we receive this gift of the divine will, just like the girl. Yes, she is given the parts that she needs to be a girl. We're given this gift, but if we don't nourish our souls by consuming the food of these acts and of reading these volumes, then these parts of our soul are not going to, you could say, become more full, more mature, and we're not going to actually reach that point of complete consummation, which you could say there's other volumes, other writings like the four degree writings, or the three levels in the depths of the sea. Some live on the surface, some just below the surface, and some go deep, deep, deep down. Only when we go deep, deep, deep down will we be able to actually give birth to this gift in souls in the world, and that is ultimately the point of these rounds, and the point of having this time to read the volumes. either this time on YouTube or other times throughout the day, like just doing as much as we can to absorb, because this is what Jesus is waiting for more souls to reach that point of maturity so that we can give birth to this life in the world. And that's what's going to bring this kingdom of peace, is when the divine will is reigning in souls. And so, yeah, and another thing that stands out to me is this this all of our acts which came out of us for love of creatures in creation, redemption, and sanctification. Yeah, he's specific when he says like these acts need to be consummated within us, and so yeah, that's why it's important to sort of cover like all of the acts. And it's technically it's impossible to even conceive of every single tiny thing that God did, but he gives Luisa, yeah, sort of a template. There's different points throughout the volumes that he he speaks to her about the rounds of creation, right? And then the rounds of redemption and the rounds of sanctification. And there's different aspects of these rounds. And yeah, I didn't really expect that I'd be doing this today, but it's happening. I think I'm gonna share my screen, just so we can all kind of understand a little bit of why we're doing what we're doing and like what this is. So this is a little document that I put together for myself a while back, but it kind of, because it's like I wanted to have sort of a systematic way to like, because it's kind of overwhelming, like all the acts of God. There's so many different like aspects of it, and your mind can just kind of go like wandering, like, oh, pray the rounds, like how do I even do that, like, and you just kind of start thinking, and you're trying to think of like all these things, and it's just very disorganized and mentally draining. And so I wanted to make bullet points for myself so that I could just kind of look at these bullet points and go through, kind of pretty much going through all of the um, aspects of creation and redemption and sanctification. And so just to scroll through this really quickly, yeah, like rounds of creation, it's like just little bullet points of some aspects of creation. And then that's like one, you could say that's one cluster, or one room within the kingdom, one room within the palace, right? And so, yeah, the rounds of creation, like apples and the sun and dogs, stuff like that. And then I'm going through the story now. This is the fall, and this is beginning the rounds of, kind of going from the rounds of creation into the rounds of redemption. Um, and so going through the story of, yeah, this rounds of creation goes through creating Adam, and now we're going through the fall of Adam and repairing for that, because Jesus gives Luisa specific details about the fall and instructions for her of how he wants her to repair the fall. And so that's kind of going through that there. And then we have rounds of the Old Testament, and this is continuing the story of the rounds of redemption too, because Jesus teaches Luisa that he also wants her to enter into the works that God did throughout the whole story of the universe. So entering into the works that God did even through the Old Testament and going through the story. So, and it can be kind of overwhelming, but I kind of have done my best to like trace bullet points. So just like little things like in the act of Sodom and Gomorrah being destroyed, I use that as a prayer to that God would take the human will by storm and overwhelm everything, so that mankind would be disposed to receive the gift of the divine will. And just like stuff like that, we can make things up, but the point is really to just kind of follow the divine will, to follow what God did throughout this story that he did, and consume consume and assimilate these acts within ourselves so that we can become more and more full and vibrant and more able to give birth to the life of the divine will and souls. And so, yeah, and now I put this next section is the hidden and public ministry of, wait a second. Yeah, maybe that's a weird title for it. Okay, yeah, hidden and public ministry of Jesus, but I start this section with the conception of Mary, because that's another room in the palace, right? Or another room in the kingdom, is to go into is Mary's life, and I really did not go into very much detail compared to how much we know about our Blessed Mother through the Virgin Mary in the kingdom, and there's other writings as well that talk about her. And so, but yeah, it's important to cover these acts, and we take Mary's acts and we repeat them, because her acts are the most powerful acts that any creature ever did, and she used her entire life to call down the kingdom of redemption, to call Jesus to be incarnated within her womb. But she also, even though it wasn't time for it to be completed, you could say it was in suspension within herself too, this prayer for the coming of the kingdom. And so we enter into her prayers for the Redeemer, and we use her very acts of love, everything that she did, in order to now put into actuality that heart of hers that beat for the coming of the kingdom. And so, yeah, it's like the most powerful thing ever. Yeah, and then we go into the incarnation of Jesus, and we go into the first moment of his conception in the womb, and everything that he tells Luisa that he suffered in the 9 excesses of love. And yeah, I don't really go into it in this bullet point, but like you can, as a supplemental thing, then like go to the excesses of love in the book, like the novena book, and kind of absorb these acts into ourselves. It's important to, like, if we're not familiar with the acts, like with reading in the volumes and the rounds that Luisa wrote in her round books and in the Virgin Mary in the Kingdom, is a great place to start. The Christmas novena, the Hours of the Passion. Yeah, these are different works that, and also there's rosary meditations that are, I believe, are taken from like extra like expansions from the Virgin Mary in the Kingdom. But all of these works that Luisa wrote are ways that we can actually know the detail, because God is revealing divine mysteries about everything that he did in ways that are so deep beyond what we've ever known before. And it's because now is the time in history where he wants us to actually enter into and take possession of his acts. That means to really truly do together with God that which he did. And in order to do that, it's necessary to use the 3 faculties of our soul, the intellect, memory, and will, in order to really go into these acts and make them our own. Because truly, you can't really do something that you don't know. You can't really possess something that you don't know. You can't love something you don't know. And so that's why knowledge is really important. It's true, God can give the gift of the divine will to anybody, like, and I believe that it happens, that souls who don't even know about the gift, like, have it sort of infused into them. But it's a huge difference. It's that that picture slider. It's that little girl becoming a woman, like very faded to full and vibrant. Like he gave the volumes to Luisa, and then she wrote also the like books. Like there's rounds books that go more into detail. She wrote everything that like God revealed to her, and it is necessary in order for us to grow to full maturity in the divine will, in order to grow to a point where we're able to give birth to this kingdom in souls, and bring this kingdom of peace down to reign on the earth. It is absolutely necessary to spend time absorbing the volumes, absorbing the knowledges, because that is the very essence of what it is. Like, we have to know with our intellect that God gave us, what He's revealed to us of how to actually take that act and make it our own and do it and repeat it. And the truth is that the more we grow in knowledge, the more every single time we read something and absorb it into ourselves, the more powerful our acts are going to become, the more powerful our entire life is going to become. Like, it's true that the divine will, like, every breath we take, every step we take, it's all sending down infinite graces upon the world. But like, the more rich we have made our heart through these knowledges, through coming to love, what God did and make them our own, that's like the more powerful our breath is going to be, the more powerful our steps are going to be, and the more likely we're going to be throughout the day, as we live our life, the more likely we're going to be to remain in that place of being in the rounds. And it will be more of a continuous thing if we've spent like a lot of time truly studying, truly praying our rounds, taking that time aside, an hour, hours, if you can, throughout the day to dedicate to the knowledges and to praying the rounds and going deep into it. So anyway, yeah, these sections: creation, redemption, sanctification. Yeah, going through, this is like his time in the desert, yeah, and all the way. And of course, I didn't cover every single thing. There's so many more things to do, but that's one section to spend time in. And then another section that's super, super important to spend time in is the hours of the Passion. And I put in this section, yeah, that's very important to just like read the volumes yourself, read the hours of the Passion yourself, and really spend time with it. But I even broke down like it's good to study the hours of the Passion and like kind of take these acts within ourselves. So for example, there's these acts that God did that we should have in our arsenal and we should be repeating. So when Jesus is slapped in the house of Annas, he says in the hours that this specifically repairs for all the disrespect that has ever been shown to priests, past, present, and future. And when Jesus cries over the feet of Judas, it is specifically intended to soften all the hearts that are hardened in sin. And so, yeah, we should be repeating like these specific acts and being attentive to them as we read the hours of the Passion, and if possible, really committing them to memory, because of how often we repeat them, how often we live there. Yeah, and then the next little section that I came up with, and so like these sections or these clusters can sort of be prayed as like one prayer time, like 1 hour or however long you have to spend. It would be pretty overwhelming to try to do all of this in one day unless you literally had all day to do it. So it's not to be overwhelming, but it's just kind of to make sure we're getting all of these food groups in throughout the course of a week. You could say you could schedule it out like different like sections. But yeah, then the next little cluster is like the glorious rounds and the birth of development of the church. And so, yeah, Jesus in one of the, I believe it's in just the 24 the rounds that Luisa wrote, and she wrote 24 rounds, and it was intended to be sort of like one round for every hour of the day, going through the story of creation through Jesus's life. But she says that when Jesus went to limbo, Saint Joseph and all the holy souls were there, and when he went there, everybody in limbo was actually, they were celebrating and they were so happy, and they were like, Jesus, 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 please send your kingdom to reign in the world. And so they were like praying him to hurry and establish the kingdom. And so having knowledge of that act, and the tenderness of love of like Saint Joseph in coming to full knowledge of everything, like well, he knew a lot, but in this place, like knowing everything, and just the power of the tenderness of love of that, and like even like his fatherly authority over Jesus, like asking him that, like it's like we can take that act of Saint Joseph and all the holy souls asking him to send his kingdom quickly, and we can magnify them and repeat them over and over and over again, and that's powerful. And Jesus reveals that to us because he wants us to really take part in it and use it as a divine weapon, as the celestial army, the militia, in order to conquer him and send the kingdom. So yeah, just going through, and I go into Pentecost, and that's a powerful act. Oh, and then this section, I believe, I think I put down here like another section, a whole other section can be like the lives of the saints, and the blood of the martyrs of the early church. It's really important to like redo the lives of the saints, and obviously that would be an incredibly overwhelming section to try to go through everything. But if you wanted to spend like a prayer hour just kind of thinking of different saints that come to your mind and going into their acts and repeating them, that increases their accidental glory. It increases the accidental glory of everything, and it is a special, powerful way for them to be hastened to help us more and more and more in our mission. And the same for the souls in purgatory. There was a writing where Jesus tells Luisa that the souls, there was a writing where a late confessor of Luisa, he was deceased, he came to her and he said, the other day you did this prayer and it was just so wonderful, and it gave me so much consolation and refreshment, and it sped up my time to go to heaven. Please do it again. And what she did was she entered into everything Jesus suffered. So everything that she absorbed and knew very, very well from the hours of the Passion, she absorbed everything that Jesus did and suffered, and she, like a sponge, she like wrung herself out over the head of this confessor who had passed away in purgatory. And so he was receiving the rain of the beneficial light of everything that Jesus did and suffered coming to him, and that was like so consoling to him. And just realizing the immense power of that, he tells her it was just the best. And so yeah, that's another thing we can do. Like as we redo the lives of these saints, we can also redo the acts of all creatures past, present, future for their greater accidental glory, and to speed up souls' progress through purgatory, so that they can also be moved in a special way to help us. And in a really special way, it's important to redo the acts of Luisa, because yeah, her sufferings, her life, her everything are, of course, like this is the gift that was given to her. And so I went into some detail like about how to do some rounds of her life and to spend some time there, because that will definitely be very, very powerful. And then another section is the rounds of the sacraments. Yeah, and there's a volume, specifically volume 18, November 5th, 1925, where Jesus goes into very much detail about how to pray these rounds of the 7 sacraments. And yeah, then the final section that I came up with is the rounds of the divine attributes, because yeah, there's a writing that Jesus tells Luisa. Yeah, and I put also in this section like the supplemental readings. So for every section, I placed some volumes that specifically, some volume entries that specifically talk about it. Although these are only entries from the Book of Heaven. If you have, like I said, the rounds that Luisa wrote, and the Virgin Mary in the Kingdom, and the Hours of the Passion. Yeah, I think there's some others too, but those are the main ones. A lot of these are also taken from those works, and those are really important to. It's really important to read all 3 of those things that I just mentioned, and to absorb them into ourselves. But these are the specific volume entries that talk about these sections of the rounds, or these rooms in the house, these sections of the kingdom. Yeah. So going back to this reading from Volume 25, October 28th, 1928. This is why I do nothing but make you sit continuously everything that was done by us, and that is done in creation, redemption, and sanctification, so as to be able to say once again, as I did on the cross, I have consummated everything. I have nothing left to do in order to redeem man. So shall my will repeat. I have consummated it in this creature, in a way that all our acts have been enclosed in her. I have nothing left to add. I have consummated everything so that man might be restored, and the kingdom of my divine will may have its life and its regime on earth as it does in heaven. Oh, if you knew how many works I am doing in the depth of your soul in order to form this first kingdom to my divine will. In fact, once I have done the first, from one creature it will pass on to the next, in such a way that my kingdom will be populated more than all others. Therefore, my love in forming this kingdom of mine is so great that, in the soul in whom my divine volition must reign, I want to enclose everything that I myself did in redemption, that which the sovereign queen did, adding what all the saints have done and do. Nothing must be lacking in her of all our works, and in order to do this, I put the whole of our power, wisdom, and love in motion. After this, I was thinking about today's feast, that is, the feast of Christ the King. And my sweet Jesus, moving in my interior, told me, my daughter, the Church does nothing but intuitively grasp what she must know on my divine will and how its kingdom must come. Therefore, this feast is the prelude of the kingdom of my divine fiat. Indeed, the Church is nothing other than honoring my humanity with those titles which, by right, are due to it. And when she has given me all the honors that befit me, she will move on to honor and to institute the feast to the kingdom of my divine will, by which my humanity was animated. The Church proceeds step by step, and now she institutes the feast to my heart. Now she consecrates the century in all solemnity to Christ the Redeemer, and now she moves on with greater solemnity to institute the feast to Christ the King. Christ the King means that he must have his kingdom. He must have peoples worthy of such a king. And who will ever be able to form for me this kingdom if not my will? Then, yes, will I be able to say, I have my people. My fiat has formed it for me. Oh, if the leaders of the Church knew what I have manifested to you about my divine will, what I want to do, its great prodigies, my yearnings, my sorrowful heartbeats, my anguishing sighs, for I want my will to reign, to make everyone happy, to restore the human family. They, the leaders of the Church, would feel that in this feast of Christ the King is nothing other than the secret echo of my heart, which, echoing in them, without their knowing it, has them institute for me the feast of Christ the King, in order to call their attention and reflection. Christ the King and his true people, where are they? And they would say, let us hasten to make his divine will known. Let us let it reign, that we may give a people to Christ the King, whom we have called so. Otherwise, we would have honored him with words, but not with facts. What an amazing, incredible honor it is to be, through the gift of these knowledges, to be called and chosen to be among the first people of Christ the King. And what an amazing, incredible opportunity and honor it is to because we're among the first, to also be given the task of drawing more people around the world to become people for Christ the King. And the way that we do that is through consummating these knowledges within ourselves and consummating and truly interiorizing the acts of God within ourselves and giving birth to that same life within souls. I'm reading Jacob's comment. He says, "Thank you so much. I've not done the rounds conscientiously in a while. I like to think I do them in my daily acts with a desire to unite those acts with all other creatures, but not very organized. I think I want to stress too, well, it's kind of a both and, because like yes, there is like a certain yeah, we do have a responsibility, and it is more powerful when we do like really interiorize all the acts, but also like by doing them in sort of an organized way. But also like God understands our our littleness and how that can be pretty overwhelming, and also like there's different like times, ebbs and flows throughout the day. Like the truth is he doesn't want us to be literally 24/7 just like in the book, in the knowledges, like because then like there's not like real life, and that's not really like human. Luisa had a very specific call to like always be doing this, and so it's definitely like free, and God is always very pleased with our desire and with our intention. And yeah, even in that same writing, there's a part he said like I am doing this in the center of your soul, like I'm the one who's working this. And so like even with like taking all the time to like put together a document with all of the specific things, it's like technically that does not even scratch the surface of what all of this is. And so like yeah, in the end, like we're so little and we can't do anything. We can do our best. And yeah, sometimes there may be days where like God's will truly is that like we kind of don't spend much time at all in the volumes, maybe not even pick up the book once because of the life that he has us living. And yeah, so yes, to Jakob and to anybody else who probably may be feeling possibly discouraged, be encouraged that God, and he tells Luisa too, like what the creature is unable to do, like I make up for her inability to constantly be thinking with her goodwill. And so Jesus does within us everything that we should be doing when we're not doing it. But yeah, it is a both and, because we could take that sort of like to the extreme. We could take either of these things to the extreme, like have to do all the knowledges and know everything and have a very systematic way of constantly praying and lock myself in bed and never eat anything again. Or oh yeah, just the divine will, and I just say like I just say Jesus come live in me, and then I just go throughout my day and I don't think about it. Neither of those things is right, because Jesus does like make pretty clear like both of those things, like. And so a lot of times in these volumes and with anything, there's like we have to balance the knowledges out with each other, and so really there's a middle ground. Virtue's always found in the middle. And so yes, he does always do everything within us, and he makes up for everything that we lack. So yeah, we just do our best, and our best should not put us in a place of anxiety and stress and scrupulosity. Like for example, I could say, well, my best would be if I were just looking at the volumes nonstop and never left my room, but that's not probably God's will. And so really our best is to put in a good effort. Everyone can discern for themselves like what that would look like, but um, he wants us to also have peace and joy in our lives and to be simple and childlike, um, and realize it's not up to us. Ultimately, it is up to God, um, but it's kind of up to us because He's given us like, yeah, the volumes and a certain responsibility, but it's also like it's a balance. He does everything, and in the end, like for those who truly have like the heart to like want to do this and are willing to make sacrifices, like He's so pleased. And so yes, just the simple intention of I want to do these acts. I want to do your will, God, like throughout the day, even if you never picked up the volumes that day. Like He's infinitely pleased with that, and He does so much good through our acts. So yeah. I think I'm gonna pray from um, the the rounds that Luisa wrote. I'm just gonna read some of these sections, where Jesus gives us details about His interior life and about His public ministry, so that we can, um, yeah, really absorb this within ourselves and do it together with Him. So, Jesus, we fuse in the divine will, and as we read this entry, we ask that, and um, we intend to follow you, and we intend to redo these acts again and again and again, and multiply the glory of all creation, multiply the glory of the Father, and call down graces upon all souls, so that we may grow deeper in the divine will, and so that all souls may yearn for the kingdom. This is the 14th round in the divine will, the return to Nazareth. Infant Jesus, my life, I see that your exile has come to an end, and you are returning to Nazareth. I desire to follow you step by step. I also wish to accompany you while showering upon you my I love you, I adore you, and I bless you. I therefore call to my aid the light of the sun to bathe you with its light and convey to you my I love you. I invite the stars, whose twinkling convey to you my I love you. I invite the powerful wind, whose moans, howls, and whistles besiege you with my I love you, I love you. I call on all the birds of the air to accompany you with their warbling, trills, and songs that tell you I love you, I love you. I call upon the little lambs whose bleating conveys to you my I love you. I call upon the sea to accompany you with its billowing and gushing waves to tell you I love you. And do you know what your little daughter wishes to ask you through the outpouring of her I love you? I ask you to grant me the kingdom of your will. As you arrive at Nazareth and close yourself within your little house, I too close myself within this house to continue the outpouring of my I love you, so as to win you over with love, and to obtain what you yourself desire, and what the Holy Queen Mother and I desire, namely, that your will be known by all and reign on earth. Jesus, my life, I am with you in the house of Nazareth, and wish to seal every action of yours with my I love you, I adore you, I bless you, and I thank you. And implore the kingdom of your will. As currents of love flow between you and your mother, I make the currents of my I love you flow within yours, to entreat you and our Heavenly Mother. May your will be known. In the food you eat, I impress my I love you, to implore with your own will the food of your will for all creatures. In the water you drink, I pour forth my I love you, to implore within the depths of our being the pure water of your will. May the life of your will flow through our veins and be felt in all of our limbs. In taking up the nails and hammer to perform your manual labor, may you nail my human will to your will and transform it into the light of your divine will. As I follow you in your carpentry work with my I love you, may your hammering of the nails affix all human wills in such a way that they may be bound to you and enjoy the freedom of living in the divine will. When you withdraw to your little room to pray or to sleep, I shall accompany you and remain close to you. If nothing else, I shall continually whisper into your ear, I love you, I love you, I love you, and I adore you. I implore you, with your own prayers, the kingdom of your divine fiat. Through your own sleep, cause the human will to enter into a profound slumber. Whereby it may no longer have a life of its own, but may enjoy only and always the life of your divine will. My divine Jesus, it would sadden me not to be able to follow you in everything, or keep you company to let you hear my constant refrain. I love you, I adore you, I bless you, and I thank you. Being next to you, I feel your own will and your own heartbeats ardently beat for your divine will to be known and to reign on earth. Therefore, I follow you, along with Mary and Joseph, to the temple, where you remove yourself from the sight of your mother and give rise to her bitter sorrow of losing you for 3 days. I make my I love you flow in your mother's sorrow and in her distressing loss. And I implore you, may the human will become lost forever, so that souls live only in your divine will. And I place my I love you in that same joy you both experienced upon meeting again, which is greater than ever. My I love you entreats you. May souls desist from causing you any more sorrow through the constant misuse of their human will. May souls grant you instead the pure and unspeakable joys that derive from your divine fiat reigning in them. And this is from the 15th round, the baptism of Jesus, which that feast day is coming up soon. My heavenly and greatest love, I hasten my step to follow you, so that time may not interrupt me from accompanying you in everything. I see that you are now about to go into the desert, and pressing your mother tightly to your heart that convulses with love, you say to her, "For now I must say goodbye, dear mother, as I must go to accomplish my Father's will. I leave you my divine fiat as your abiding help and life, for it shall keep us continuously united and empower you to experience everything I do. Although we will be far apart, my will shall reveal to you everything your Son does, so that you may accompany me in everything. It will keep you so united to me that we will experience everything as one." Jesus, my life, take me by the hand and bring me with you. I shall not allow the slightest thing you do to escape my I love you, which seeks to enclose everything you do and ask you for the kingdom of your divine will on earth. So I follow you, step by step, as you walk alone. I offer you my I love you, I adore you, I bless you, and I thank you. In every breath you take, may you inhale my I love you. Within my I love you, I enclose every word you utter. With my gaze, I comfort every gaze you take. As you reach the Jordan, I make my I love you flow within its waters in such a way that, as St. John the Baptist pours these waters out over you in baptism, you may feel the company of your little daughters, I love you, who will never leave you. In these waters, I implore on behalf of all souls the baptismal waters of your divine will and the beginning of its kingdom on earth. My love, in this solemn act of your baptism by water, I ask of you a grace I am certain you will not deny me. I ask you, through the life-giving and creative waters of your divine will, to purify with your holy hands my little soul. In such a way that I may hear nothing, see nothing, and know nothing apart from the life of your divine fiat. Ah, yes, I beseech you to transform my entire being into one single act of your divine will. O Jesus, my sweet love, allow me to follow you into the desert where, in solitude, my I love you shall never abandon you. I will remain at your side day and night in this desert where souls have deserted you, to console you when you are afflicted and tired, when you pray and groan for love of souls, and when you weep on seeing your divine will rejected. You experience profound sorrow, not only because your divine will does not reign in souls, but because they have banished it into exile. Therefore, your most sacred humanity mourns and implores on behalf of the entire human family the reconciliation of the divine with the human will. Your human will calls out to your divine will to reign in all human nature, while your divine will forgives souls for the long exile in which they have kept it. O my Jesus, I fuse myself in your tears, prayers, and the yearnings of your ardent heart, and I make them my own. I interlace everything you experience in this desert with my I love you. I interlace everything you experience in this desert with my I love you, to form my sweet chains of love that, adorning your entire divine person with many ringlets, compel you to grant me the kingdom of your divine will on earth. Jesus, my life, listen to my prayers as they are bound to your very heartbeats, sighs, tears, prayers, and sufferings that long for and invoke the kingdom of your fiat. If you won't listen to me, then listen at least to your own pleas, so that when you return from the desert, you may promise me, ah yes, soon the kingdom of my will shall come to earth. O my Jesus, heart of my heart, I see that you hasten your step to leave the desert. You pass by the Jordan again to cast another loving glance upon beloved John and pour into his heart torrents of your love and grace. In haste you arrive at the house of Nazareth, where the love of your heavenly mother incessantly calls you. And what a touching sight to behold! You and your mother throw yourselves into each other's arms and, fused together, form one single love. On account of your absence, the heavenly Queen had ardently longed to see you, her son. Her motherly heart, burning with love, longed to pour itself out into her son to receive in exchange from you the dew of your love, and not be consumed by the loving flames that devoured her. And you too, Jesus, my heavenly Savior, felt a yearning desire for the love of your mother, and for this reason you ran into her arms, to give and to receive love. And I, with the little flame of my I love you, share in your chaste embraces, in your outpourings of love, and in the ardent fire of the mother and son's love, to implore the kingdom of your will on earth. Holy Mother, may you repeat and pray together with me. May the divine will be made known, and may it reign on earth as in heaven. And while you and your son find solace in each other's love and are uplifted, you also dispose yourself to be deprived of one another for longer periods of time. It is not too long before you, Jesus, unsurmountable love, are again walking on the path to begin your public life, where you convey to the heart of your mother the heartache you experience. And again you depart, all alone, to share your word with the people, to form disciples, and to proclaim the holy gospel. The 16th round in the divine will, Jesus' public life, the wedding feast of Cana, and the proclamation of the gospel. Jesus, my love and my life, I see that before beginning your public life, your heart ablaze with love moves you to assist at the wedding feast of Cana along with your mother. And I follow you with my I love you. I can feel your heart beating with love and sorrow as you recall having assisted at and blessed another wedding, namely that of Adam and Eve in their state of innocence in Eden, where a double espousalship was celebrated. The espousalship of your divine will with the human will, and the espousalship of the first man and woman. In Eden, you had given in dowry to man and woman all of creation, as well as your divine will palpitating in their hearts and in all created things. Wherefore, your presence at this wedding in Cana of Galilee, which is something unusual for you, speaks to me of your desire to make the divine will reign in souls by reordering within yourself all human actions. O my Jesus, I draw close to you to envelop your sweet gaze, your melodious voice, and your fascinating ways with my I love you, I adore you, I bless you, and I thank you. Through the love that moved you to answer the pleas of the sovereign queen, who asked you to change the water into wine, I beg you out of love for your heavenly mother to perform the great miracle of changing the human will into the divine will, so it may reign on earth as it is in heaven. Anna in the comments says, please pray for a safe flight tomorrow. Thank you. And so I want to place this prayer intention, this need for Jesus to perform a miracle of protection, and all of the intentions that any of us hold in our hearts for our needs. And all the needs of all souls in the world, past, present, and future. Even the littlest things. I impress all of the needs of all of these souls, past, present, and future, into this need of the couples needing Jesus to change the water into wine. And as Jesus answers this prayer, and as he answers all prayers of all times, past, present, and future, so may that same underlying petition, that same underlying miracle that he performed in the wedding feast at Cana, that of changing the human will into divine, so may that same prayer be enveloped within each and every petition, past, present, and future. And within every cry of every creature, within every breath that asks for help, that asks something of you, may you hear, impressed within that prayer of theirs for the particular needs of their life, may you hear the prayer of Fiat voluntas tua, may your will reign in our hearts. May we be given the gift of the divine will so that all suffering may one day come to an end. Give us the grace of establishing quickly your kingdom upon earth, so that as you answer with great love the prayer requests of your children and tend to their concerns for their daily life, you may tend in a very deep way to the soil of their souls and establish your kingdom within them and in the whole world. And inspire many more souls throughout the world who don't think to ask you for help in their needs. Inspire more souls to come to you with their burdens and their desires and their needs. Inspire more souls to rely on you and to ask you for help. Holy Mother, you who showed so much concern for the spouse's happiness as to have Jesus change water into wine, I beseech you to please show the same concern by not allowing Jesus to embark upon his public life until he has first promised you that his will shall come and reign on earth. My sweet beloved Jesus, I will not cease telling you, I love you, or repeating my continual melody which entreats you to make your divine will reign on earth as in heaven. To make you grant my wishes, I will follow you in everything, to envelop all of your acts with my I love you, thereby forming about you and within you the formidable host of my acts that whisper into your ear. Grant me the fiat that beats in your heart, and grant me the will that speaks in your words, that works in your hands, and that walks in your footsteps. Throughout your entire being, I whisper, I desire that your will reign on earth as in heaven. Oh, listen to your little daughter who loves you so much, or rather, listen to your own voice in mine, and grant that we may all live in your fiat. The 17th round in the divine will. Jesus' public life and the working of miracles. O Jesus, my dear life, I see that you now take leave of your mother, but your wills do not separate. As you leave to begin your public life all alone, you turn your steps toward Jerusalem, where you will proclaim your divine word in the temple, and openly declare that you are the awaited one by the nations, the longed for Messiah. But how it breaks your heart, and causes you so much sorrow, to see that upon teaching them your word, instead of throwing themselves at your feet to receive you as their heavenly Savior, they look at you with scorn. While they listen to you, they grumble and withdraw, without offering you any place to stay. Thus you are left to remain there alone. On account of their ingratitude, you are left all alone, forced to withdraw from society and beg for bread. With the ground at night as a bed, and the starry sky as a roof. With their gentle glimmering, the stars offer you their company as you spend the night in tears and prayers, offering supplications for those who do not care to know you. Jesus, my love, come into my arms and rest. I wish to cry and pray with you. I wish to fuse all my expressions. I love you, I adore you, I bless you, and I thank you. In the sorrows you endure, in the tears you shed, and in the words you speak that go unheeded. I wish to fuse my I love you before, behind, and beneath your footsteps, so that your feet may not feel the callousness of the ungrateful who walk the earth, but only the gentleness of my love. I wish to say to you, O Jesus, look at how much you suffer. Let your divine will reign in us, and you shall suffer no more. O my Jesus, life of my poor heart, your love is untiring. You return to the temple to teach your divine word to the crowds. While the great and the learned choose not to recognize you, a crowd of poor, ignorant, and afflicted souls gather round you. They are attracted by your gentle and pleasant ways, and by your enchanting voice. voice that profoundly touches their hearts as you speak. A note of happiness enters your soul as you are able to console, instruct, and heal at least those who are considered the dregs of society. In this way, you become the friend, the teacher, and the sympathetic physician of the poor. For everyone, you have a word of comfort. You don't consider it beneath you to touch their suffering limbs and heal them. You move from one town to the next, and I wish to follow your footsteps and impress on the streets and towns you visit my I love you, I adore you, I thank you, and I bless you. As I frequently press you to my heart, I whisper gently into your ear. Grant me the kingdom of your will. And to move you to grant me what I ask this of you with the love of your own divine acts. As you travel through streets and towns, I come across a moving scene. I behold you surrounded by the blind, the mute, the deaf, the lame, the paralytics, and the lepers. All such human misery pierces your divine heart, and oh, how you tremble. Your heart breaks upon seeing human nature reduced to such misery. The same human nature that was fashioned by God's creative hands so beautifully and perfectly is now almost horrid to behold. All this is due to the degraded human will that, producing its worst effects, renders human nature so unhappy. O my love, I entreat you, make your fiat reign in us. If you will it, you can make your fiat put to flight the unhappiness the human will has produced. And so I make my I love you flow in your act of restoring sight to the blind, so that everyone may come to see and learn of your divine will. And how many are blind to your divine will? The earth is filled with such blind souls, wherefore I beseech you to grant sight to all, so that they may see and gaze upon your most holy will. My love, I see that with each step you take, you heal those who are afflicted. A deaf person is presented to you, and with the authority of your voice, you restore his hearing. I make my words, I love you, flow in the sound of your command, and ask you to restore hearing to so many who are deaf to the voice of your divine will. You take another step and loosen the tongue of a mute person. How many mute souls there are, whose tongues are unable to speak of your divine fiat. And I, prostrate at your feet, approach your knees, and, despite my ineptitude, refuse to remove myself until you perform the miracle of loosening the tongues of the many mute souls, so that they may all speak of your adorable will. O my Jesus, your heart experiences a harrowing blow on account of such human misery, all the result of the human will. And so you go about working miracles to free them of their afflictions, and obtain for us the grace to invoke your divine will, so that it may reign on earth. Thus you make the lame walk, you cleanse the lepers and heal the paralytics. And I, my heavenly Savior, accompany you always with my I love you, I adore you, I bless you, and I thank you. And do you know why I love you and follow you? Because I desire to straighten the legs of those who stumble along the way of your will, to cleanse all human generations of the leprosy of the human will that made them deformed in spirit and in body, and to heal all those who are paralyzed from the misuse of their own human will. My love, the human will is the sower of all ills. So I beseech you to perform the miracle of miracles. Make your will reign on earth as in heaven, so that all ills may be banished from our midst. The 18th round in the divine will. My beloved, as you continue your public life, you proclaim your divine word everywhere and console the afflicted. You hear a mother crying as she accompanies the body of her son to the grave, and you cannot resist the tears of a weeping mother. You approach the casket, bring the young man back to life, and restore him to his mother. My love, may my I love you accompany you as you restore life to the person who has died. I beseech you to restore to the life of grace the many souls who are dead to your divine will. In this way, the divine will shall no longer shed tears, which are also your tears, as it has for centuries, and with greater love than any mother on account of its many children that have become dead to your will. O my Jesus, my most sweet life, your love takes you everywhere. Called upon to raise a little girl from the dead, you do not refuse. Holding her by the hand as if to raise her, you say, "The girl is not dead, but asleep," and you restore her to life. My love, how many there are who sleep in the slumber of their human will. I therefore bid my I love you flow in the act you perform of bringing the girl back to life. In so doing, I ask you to extend your right hand over all people and bring them back to the life of your will. All it takes is the mere touch of your creative hand, an act of your power, to free these souls from their slumber of the human will and form the first group of the children of the kingdom of your divine fiat. My merciful Jesus, another moving scene awaits you. Martha and Mary Magdalene approach you to tell you that their brother has died, and they weep. You are so touched that you weep with them and ask them to take you to Lazarus's grave. Once there, you command that the tomb be opened. Upon seeing that after only 4 days one can no longer recognize him nor approach him on account of the foul stench that comes from the tomb, you shudder, tremble, and weep. And with an authoritative voice that trembles on account of your great sorrow, you exclaim, Lazarus, come out, and you raise him from the dead. My love, in raising Lazarus from the dead, why do you weep and experience so much sorrow? And Jesus, pressing me to himself, and I to him, made me experience his sorrowful heartbeats and hear his voice resounding in my heart that said, My little daughter, Lazarus represents all mankind steeped in sin and reduced to one putrid corpse on account of the human will. He vividly portrayed the evils the human will produces and that made the human family unbearable for me to behold. Hence the foul stench emanating from his tomb that made me weep and tremble with sorrow. Wherefore, I ask you to weep and pray with me. O life of my heart, I weep with you and impress upon each of your words my I love you, I adore you, Lazarus, come out, to compel you to repeat these words to every human heart, whilst pouring out your tears like a blessed dewfall, saying, Come out of the grave of your human will, and return to the life of my divine will. For in hearing your authoritative voice, all will rise to establish on earth the kingdom of your fiat. My beloved Jesus, I will not leave you for one instant, although I am incapable of properly expressing myself. I can nevertheless say to you, I love you, and I interweave all your acts, steps, words, and tears with my tiny I love you, and beseech you to establish on earth your reigning and dominating fiat. I now follow you with your disciples as you are asleep on a boat. Your sleep is a symbol of the rest you wish to grant to those who will live in your divine will. But the storm rages to the point of striking fear into the hearts of your apostles, whereby upon awakening you they cry out, Master, save us, we are perishing. O my Jesus, this storm represents the tempestuous human will that, raising its impetuous waves in the sea of life, threatens to drown us. my sweet Jesus. With my I love you, I unite my voice with the apostles who cry out, Master, save us. We are perishing. I entreat you, with the same authority with which you commanded the storm that engulfed the apostles to be still, command the storm of our human will to be still, so that our human will may be reconciled with your divine will and find rest in the safe arms of your supreme fiat. Jesus, we thank you so much for this wonderful gift that you've given us of your divine will and of calling and inviting us to be a part of your celestial army in restoring the kingdom of the divine will to all the world and bringing about your so desired era of peace. With all of our hearts, we would want to be able to completely comprehend and enter into every single act you ever did and to have absorb all the knowledges of everything. But we are always going to be incapable of covering and enclosing everything because of how immense and incredible you are. And so, with the hearts of little children, we tell you that we will do our best to be attentive to what you share with us through Luisa, but give us the grace to find that balance of always remaining like little children, not putting pressure on ourselves to perform or to be or to do, realizing that this, in the end, this is your work, but also find that balance of sacrificing ourselves to apply ourselves to these knowledges, to this gift you've given us, and spending time with the knowledges and with the acts and the rounds. It's difficult for us to find balance given our human nature and all of the different wounds that we may have and the conditioning we've experienced. And so, Jesus, we ask you that you would live your life within us, that you would do this work within us and help us to live a life of peace, joy, and happiness, free from worry and anxiety, and set ablaze with fire for your love and for the coming of your kingdom. Little mother, come to your child. Little mother, make our hearts as small as yours. Little mother Mary, the child Mary, send to us the Holy Spirit. Send to us your spouse. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Fiat. Thanks so much for joining, everybody. I pray you all have a wonderful, peaceful